Welcome to MotherShip Racing. I am your driver, Ellie, aka Lyle Bateman, and I'm here with my first ever win on iRacing. Comes in my first week of playing on the game in a car I've never seen before, on a track I'd never seen before, in a game I've only been playing for a week. So I'm pretty thrilled. An up class on my license to D. Came along with the win and the low incident report coming from it as well. So yeah, pretty chuffed. We start off here with our out lap, which I've got a new strategy for that I take pretty slow. You saw me do the weaving at the beginning to warm up the tires a little bit, and we're basically not hitting our full throttle until we come out of the second chicane Hislops to get ready for our first qualifying. This is a rare situation where I actually put in two good qualifying laps. I did have one incident during the qualifying session, but it was on my old lap. You can see it come up here near the end. I overshot the final corner at Lodges and went off into the grass just a touch. But I was able to keep it together, get back on the track, and start off for a decent first lap. I had a bit of an incident on lap 2 as well, but it wasn't enough of an incident to become an incident. I stayed on the track, but it lost me a couple of seconds, so my second qualifying time wasn't great. So yeah, we are basically at this point at full throttle and getting ready for lap number 1 of our qualifying session here. I wasn't really aware of the field at this point in time. I put in a not terrible lap of like there we go. That was my one incident of the qualifying. So my first lap is decent for sure. 201. In the 201 range. That's almost never going to win races most of the time at this level. There's usually people doing flat 2s or 159s at various points through the race. So, doing a 201, you're going to have trouble keeping up. With them. But I can actually do in the low 2s. I've technically done a 159, high 159, but it had an incident on it, so it wasn't recorded. My best recorded time is like just a hair over 2. 2 thousandths of a second. So yeah, we're putting in a pretty decent run here for number 1. It's very clean, and not the fastest run in the world, but that's kind of intentional because I try to put in a clean run on lap 1 just to make sure I've got lap time recorded that's, in the 201, 202 range, something like that, which is going to put me typically mid-ish pack to start the day. So we almost had a bit of an issue there, went a little wide, Hislops, but we managed to save it. Again, very close to an incident there. We were on the edge of the edge at that point on the track limits, but we managed to hold it together and keep it on the track. And we're coming in to what isn't a particularly tricky corner, but it can be if you hit it. If you don't have the right, if you don't come into it in the right way at the right speed in the right point in the right direction, you're gonna have issues coming out of it for sure. This final corner as well, pretty easy to spin on this one, and I've done it more than once to lose myself races, but not this time. We get through the first qualifying lap and set something in the 201 range for this one, so it was pretty decent. And a good, solid quali session. So we're on to lap number 2 now. There was my little bobble that we did that lost me a couple of seconds in time. So I think I put in like a 203 for my second quality lap. But it was also a clean lap, so I put in 2 clean qualification laps, which is a little bit unusual for me. I'm typically stepping over the line just a touch. I mean, anybody that knows me probably isn't surprised to hear that I have a few issues coloring between the lines, and it turns out it's important to be able to color between the lines when you're driving a race car. So yeah, I'm gonna have to learn that skill a little bit better. But in this case, we managed just a single incident, and we are off to the races. And single incident didn't affect either our qualifying laps, so that's useful. It's always nice when it's in the lap rather than one of your qualifying laps. His sloughs here, always one of the more dangerous parts of the course. I've piled into one of those pylons more than once, and it's a pretty quick way to end your race. I mean, I'm guessing in real life, it's a pretty quick way to injure yourself really badly and potentially end your life. But I'm guessing the modern cars are a little bit better designed for safety that way than the old ones were. So yeah, coming up to the end of lap number 2 of qualifying. Like I say, it wasn't quite as good as lap number 1, but we put in 2 clean laps and found ourselves a pole. So like I was saying, I wasn't really aware of the field when we started our qualification laps, but by the end of it, I was pretty aware that I was going to be the class of the field in this race because I set a 2:01, which in most races would not be pole by any stretch of the imagination. That was pole. And the best time behind me was a 2:07, so it was like 6 seconds behind me was the best qualification time. Now that's not always indicative of how fast people are. Because sometimes just things happen on your qualification laps and you can't set a good time. It happens. I've done it where I've gone off both times. I've done it where I've set a 2:05 or a 2:06 because I had an issue, but I kept it on the track, and but it was super slow. So yeah, it's fun, right? It's but it's the way you go. So yeah, we picked up pole, and I was pretty sure I was going to be the class of the race. Turns out that was the case. I led from start to finish. Never, after the first lap, never more than about 4 seconds, or never less than about 4 seconds ahead. 4.5 to 5 seconds, to be perfectly honest with you. I got a good start. I've got some competition for the first little bit, but Britain's is, well, Shell Oils is the first real. Well, actually, no, that's not true. With cold tires off the start, every single corner is tricky. There's usually carnage in corner 1 off the start. There's people. There's people spinning out on corner 2, the big sweeping left-hander after the start. So yeah, it's tricky with the cold tires. But I get a good start. I'm out in front, so I don't have too much of an issue with other cars potentially taking me out. But up in the front runners, we didn't have that issue. Everybody stayed pretty stable through this section as well. But like I say, I've got a car on my tail, pretty closely up here as we move up into Shell Oils, which is the first real test of the track, frankly. On lap 1, all the corners are a bit of a test with cold tires, but as far as the track is concerned, the Shell Oils is the first real serious test of your driving skills to get around the proper apex. I went a bit wide on that one. Didn't quite hit the line, and we basically got him sniffing down the pass here, but things go well for us, badly for them, going into Britain's, and quite a lead over second now. I believe we've got Joseph Jeffries popping into second at this point, and he hangs about for most of the first lap, but he has an issue as well. And we end up with Richard Spooner about 5 seconds behind us for the rest of the race. But yeah, so we're going through lap 1. We've got a good solid lead. I'm still very carefully watching the times of the guys behind me, and where they are, how far behind me they are just to kind of see where I am and make sure that I'm I'm sitting okay because I'm kind of a little surprised that I'm leading the race at this point. Like I say, it's my first ever win. I've never won one of these before at this point, so I'm like, is this maybe the race? Um, but I'm really watching to see how hard the guys behind me are charging to come up and try to find me. So that's lap one. We're into lap two now. We've got about a 6-second lead on Spooner at the moment, and it stays between 4.5 and 6 seconds for pretty much the rest of the race. I do have one incident in this race, which I'm pretty sure happened on lap one. I didn't point it out when it came through, but I'm pretty sure we've already had it. One incident is astonishing for me over a 12-minute race. I'm usually sitting at least 4 or 5 on a good day, and on a bad day I've only been disqualified once for too many points. 17 is the most you can get before they disqualify you. That's only happened to me once, but there's been a few times where I've been on lap 4 and sitting at 15, and I'm going like, oh, okay, we gotta make sure we drive clean for a few laps, right? This is typically a 6-lap race. Sometimes you get 7 laps in. I've had a couple of races where I get 7 laps in if it's a particularly fast race with the front runners. But it's usually 6. This is about the point in the race where I'm starting to think, hey, this might actually be my first win. But you know what? You've been in this position before, Ellie, and you've basically had races in your hand, yours to lose. And you know what you done, buddy? You lost them. So let's not do that this time. Let's keep it together. So pretty much from here on out, I am keeping a little bit of an eye on the times behind me to make sure that I'm maintaining my gap. But at this point, I have stopped trying to increase my lead. I've realized that I'm a pretty solid driver, and I'm pretty solidly ahead of the other drivers at this stage. And my most important task at this point is to finish the last 4 laps of the race on the track without getting any incidents and without losing control of my car, because that's how I'm going to lose. That's how I'm going to lose the race, not by one of the other drivers out driving me at this stage. I've pretty much realized. So my mantra from here for the rest of the race is just keep it together, Ellie. Just keep it together, Ellie. Just keep it on the road between the white lines. So yeah, that was what's going through my head pretty much for the rest of the race. Mostly, other than that first lap, it was a pretty clean race from the cars behind me. I didn't hear a ton of incident reports from my crew chief. There's a few of them, but I didn't hear a ton. And yeah, certainly for the top 4 or 5 cars, it was pretty clean, pretty smooth race. Of course, we were all spread out pretty far as well, which means there wasn't a whole lot of wheel-to-wheel racing going on, which is where you get incidents sometimes that are kind of unavoidable, or just happen because of a slight lack of skill on one party or another. To be fair, it's often been me in that spot. I had one race yesterday that 2 days ago. I just made a utterly stupid move at one point on this track and tried to overtake in exactly the wrong spot. Took out me in the front. Like I was second, I was trying to overtake in the first, and it took both of us out on the corner. It was stupid. There's the dumbest spot in the track to try to overtake on. So we're into lap 4, and again, like I say, I'm okay. We can win this thing, but the way that we win this thing at this point is we don't lose this fucking thing, okay, buddy? Okay, buddy? So yeah, that's what's going through my head right now. And it's especially coming into corners like Shell Oils here, and then through the chicanes, Britons, and Hislops that I'm really hyper focused on hitting my braking zones. And I'm actually, as I said, I'm not really pushing for my fastest laps at this point. I am letting off on the accelerator a bit early coming into these braking zones to give me a chance to brake a little softer. And, that's losing me some time for sure. But it's also guaranteeing me a hell of a lot more stability through these corners like Hislops and Britons and stuff. Shit can go really south for you really fast if you're trying to push through those. So I had the luxury of knowing that I was, pretty good, and if I started to see one of the other cars come up on me, I had a bit more in me that I could give if I had to. So I was fairly happy with that, and that's always kind of a nice feeling to have. It turns out I didn't really need it to in the end, but yeah, it was great. So yeah, coming up on lap 5, which is going to be the penultimate lap of this race. And I'm sort of starting to realize that it is entirely possible that I could be winning my first race at this point in time. And again, I am keenly aware, like right there, I almost had another incident, just barely held it together, but I'm keenly aware at this point that there is no one else in this race that's going to win it. It is 100% mine to lose at this point, and I just have to not lose it. Like the second place car being 5 seconds behind, 2 laps to go, is technically within striking distance of me. But by this point in the race, it was pretty clear to me that the other drivers weren't going to be posing a significant threat to me in the final couple laps. And that the odds are, if they tried, there'd be incidents and they'd go off the track. Hislops and lodges and the danger spots on the track. So yeah, in a normal race, I probably wouldn't be, or in another race with a different field, I probably wouldn't be this comfortable in first place at this point. But in this race, I'm pretty comfortable at this point, and like I say, I'm not driving my fastest. I'm not driving my fastest laps by any stretch of the imagination at this stage. I'm focusing on keeping it on the track rather than driving record speed laps. Although to be fair, I was still putting in decent times. I was still putting in 2:01s and high 2s at this stage, so it wasn't like I was dawdling around the track. Because I knew that if I was giving up a second a lap, well, that gives him a free 2 seconds behind if he keeps on his pace. So I can't slow down that much and still maintain my my advantage. But here we are, final lap. This is the white flag lap checker at the end of this, and yeah, pretty excited at this point. But again, I've lost it on the final lap a few times in this series already at this stage, so I am still kind of hyper-focused on and not really talking about. There is a point at which I'm, I don't know, like 2 turns away from the finish, and I come on the radio and I'm like, I can't believe it, guys, this is like my first ever win. And then I pop on a couple of seconds later, and I'm like, I should really cross the finish line before I say that. Because, yeah, we were, I was pretty sure I was going to win at this point, but, again, you got to keep it on the track because they're not that far behind me, and, if I have a bad accident at this point, then it's over for me. I'm not winning the race anymore, right? So I have to keep it on the track. So I think this is where, I make my my God, I'm about to win my first race announcement. And then we're coming down here, and I realize, you know what? I should probably not Probably not say that until I actually cross the finish line. There we go. But indeed, I managed to cross the finish line and take down our first ever race on iRacing. In our first ever official series, driving a car that we'd never seen before the start of the week, on a track that we'd never seen before the start of the week, in a game simulation, driving simulation that we've never used before at the beginning of the week, which is a significant departure from my previous driving games, which were things like Forza, which are much more arcadey than this one is. So it took me a while to get used to the extra sim level of iRacing, but I think with 1 week in, and I've got a license upgrade to D. Booked my first win. I'm pretty sure I've ended in the top third of the standings of the first week of play in the Formula Vee Series. So yeah, overall, I'm fairly impressed with my progress so far in iRacing. Seeing how far we can take this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not going to get a whole lot of time to put in lap times on VIR this week, Virginia International Raceway, because I'm going away for business, and I'm going to miss next week entirely, so week 3 is going to be a write-off for me. It's not likely I'm going to win any championships at any point during my iRacing career, simply because it's always going to be the case that I'm going to be missing various weeks of series because I'll be off doing work, and I just don't have time to be racing for business trips. So it is what it is, and I have to deal with it. But yeah, so we're gonna try to put in some qualifying times early before I leave for my trip on Wednesday. Then I'll be back for week 4, a good portion of week 4 anyways, and see what we can do. A few other series I've been looking at. I might start trying to play around in the F1600 to see how it performs, but I think I still need some time to make sure that I master the Formula Vee. But I saw that there's F4, which I've been watching the real version of on YouTube for the last couple of months and quite enjoying it. So I might just be jumping into some F4 stuff. Probably won't be until the new year, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, thank you for joining me once again here for MotherShip Racing. That was my first ever win on iRacing, and I hope it's the first of many. But yeah, so until next time, thank you all for coming and joining me, and we are out of here. By the way, if you want to catch some more MotherShip Racing action, check us out on our MotherShip Racing YouTube playlist and/or my live stream here on YouTube that is pretty much exclusively racing focused. So thank you for joining me, and click the subscribe and like buttons. We'll catch you all again on the tracks.